What's up, Ocean? My name is Matt and welcome to today's video. GMax is an absolutely broken mechanic introduced in Sword and Shield. Some people love it, but most people absolutely hate it. In this video, I'll be letting you know what are the 10 best GMax Pokemon in the game. If your favorite GMax didn't make the list, not a problem. I've done a video on most of the GMax Pokemon in the game, so make sure to check them out if you haven't already. There's a link to the playlist in the description and in the cards, but let's go ahead and get started with a couple of ground rules. Number 1, all GMax Pokemon must hold a Pokeball. In my eyes and in the eyes of most people that play in Gigantamax leagues, this is the only way to balance the mechanic, which is understandable considering you can't give a Mega Pokemon a Choice Scarf or something, so why should you be able to give a GMax Pokemon one? Number 2 is that this video will only be covering Pokemon that are obtainable in the game, so unfortunately no national dex this time around, meaning these GMax Pokemon can't be countered by something that is unreleased. For number 3, pretend this is a very free draft. I'm not talking about the value of Pokemon based on their tiers, unless it's for tie-breaking purposes. And as always guys, if you like competitive Pokemon, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel because we are on the road to 2,000 subscribers and we cannot do it without you guys. Now without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Corviknight starts off our list, and although it is lackluster compared to some other GMax Pokemon available, what it provides is very unique. With access to set-up moves like Bulk Up and Agility, it's not the end of the world that it does not get access to Max Airstream. With a combination of Body Press and Iron Head, these two moves can actually boost for each other as well in your GMax form, with Max Knuckle boosting your attack, and with Max Steel Spike boosting your defense. GMax win rate, however, is amazing. If you guys are like me and you don't usually run Defog or Rapid Spin, this is the max move that just does it for you. Being an offensive move and a utility option to get rid of hazards too allows you to take a very unique approach to team building with this Pokemon. It's one of the very few GMax Pokemon that isn't actually hurt as bad by the lack of items, mostly because Leftovers, Rocky Helmet, Resist Berries are going to be your primary choices. Its typing allows it to be a solid check to a lot of other GMax Pokemon that are missing fire or electric coverage, and at the same time, its stats should let you take a couple of super effective hits before you go down. In my eyes, it's best served as a pivot, allowing you to get into a more notable threat for your team. However, I do believe there's a significant jump between Corviknight and our number 9 GMax. You must think I am crazy for putting Melmetal only at number 9, but hear me out. Melmetal's GMax move is basically just Torment, and it only hits once. It can't boost its speed with Max Airstream or set Trick Room for himself either. It has no recovery and is really frail on the special side too. So I'll ask you this, would you prefer to have a regular Melmetal that can use any item you want plus another GMax Pokemon, or a GMax Melmetal plus another Pokemon? For me, I'd prefer regular Melmetal with items over GMax Melmetal without one. Now with all that being said, it's still all the way up here at number 9 out of over 30 GMax Pokemon. Why? Well, on the physical side, it's almost impossible to OHKO without a stab and super effective attack. It's got 143 attack and defense and 135 HP. Those are 3 of the 5 highest stats any Pokemon that can Gigantamax actually can have. The only stats that are higher are Snorlax's HP at 160 and Hatterene's 136 special attack. Basically, this thing hits harder than almost any Pokemon out there. This GMax does need a good bit of support though, something that can force an opposing Pokemon that Melmetal can take advantage of while getting into Melmetal itself. Now it's not too difficult because you do have a couple of good options like Dragon types with Momentum, some Dark types too, and honestly so much more. The biggest issue is the loss of items. Losing items hurts Melmetal quite a bit. Not having access to a Choice Band, a Resist Berry, or an Assault Vest really changes a lot of important calcs with Melmetal. Making OHKOs into 2 KOs and potentially preventing you from being knocked out from certain special attacks is actually a really big deal here. It might be higher on your list than it is on mine, but that's okay. I genuinely believe that you can't go wrong with any GMax here on out, and the Pokemon from Melmetal to number 4 can basically go in any order you want. If you guys want to learn more about GMax Melmetal, Kyle A and I have a guide on it linked in the description. There is a lot of hype around GMax Grimmsnarl for 2 reasons. 1, it's an incredibly aesthetically pleasing Pokemon, but number 2 is it's just so damn good. Transforming a Pokemon that is usually seen as either a setup sweeper with Bulk Up or a support Pokemon with dual screens into an offensive monster is amazing. It gets an incredibly wide range of coverage options for literally almost any situation. Really the only types it's missing is like a stronger ground attack than Stomping Tantrum, and most importantly, a flying move to boost its lackluster speed with Max Airstream. The issue I have with Grimmsnarl is that it's a big contrast in terms of what it does with and without GMax. Usually Prankster Screens is used to support your team, and without access to Light Clay, that is a problem. Grimmsnarl's defenses are pretty low, meaning it appreciates screens for itself, which makes a lot of sense, but if you're running dual screens, you only get access to 2 coverage moves, which limits one of Grimmsnarl's greatest strengths, its coverage. Grimmsnarl also creates some really tough 50-50s as well, because of GMax Snooze. It essentially is a 50% chance to make your opponent drowsy. Pair that with Max Guard and you're set. The issue is when it doesn't work, you're using a less powerful Max Darkness, and when it does work, you're using one of your 3 GMax turns to go for Max Guard. The 50-50s come to whether or not your opponent switches out. If they do when you attack, amazing. If they do when you go for Max Guard, well that's a valuable GMax turn that's just been wasted. All in all, not getting max Airstream makes it easily revenge killed, and it will always likely suffer from 4 move slot syndrome, making Grimmsnarl much more difficult to use than a lot of other GMax Pokemon, but in the right hands it is one of the best. For a more in-depth look at GMax Grimmsnarl, check out my guide on it that I did with JB Westside in the description. Inteleon is one of the prototypical GMax Pokemon I can think of. It is the fastest GMax Pokemon out there, as well as having the second highest special attack out of all GMax Pokemon. It may not be able to boost its special attack, but it really doesn't have to. What's important is that it can boost its speed with max Airstream, and even without items, it can take advantage of Sniper incredibly well. What I mean by that is, with Focus Energy, your crit ratio is boosted by 2 stages, making it a 50-50 chance on whether or not you will get a critical hit. Inteleon gets access to Snipe Shot, a move that starts with a +1 boosted crit chance, meaning Focus Energy plus Snipe Shot is a guaranteed critical hit, and with Sniper, crits are extra powerful, so a crit Snipe Shot with Sniper does more than a Specs Hydro Pump. That's crazy. Now that also applies before or after Gigantamaxing, but you'll still get 50-50 chances to crit any of your moves that are max moves, including max Airstream to boost your speed, max Darkness to lower your opponent's special defense, and max Hydro Snipe, which ignores abilities like Storm Drain or Water Absorb. Even without items or setting up a Focus Energy, Inteleon turns any water move into a 160 base power attack. It also gets U-turn, meaning you can bluff G-maxing on turn 1 and U-turn into your answer to your opponent's Inteleon check. It's so difficult to get around, and although it benefits greatly from having items, compared to other G-max Pokemon, it just really isn't hurt as badly by it. In the description is my guide to G-max Inteleon that my friend Dietite joined me on, if you guys want to learn more. GMax Hatterene is the only GMax that can set Trick Room for itself and take advantage of it. It is the slowest GMax, but it also is the hardest hitting on the special side. Pair that with near perfect coverage in Fairy, Psychic, and Fire, you're basically set. Slap on Trick Room, and for 4 turns, you're hitting like a truck, and getting stronger and stronger as you go, setting up Sun and Psychic Terrain along the way. Getting access to Draining Kiss now gives it some much needed recovery, as well as setup options in Calm Mind, which is really powerful. Usually you can ignore your speed stat, taking advantage of the bulk and offenses Hatterene provides. Missing out on items doesn't hurt Hatterene too much because it's similar to Corviknight, where you're going to be running leftovers and resist berries as your bread and butter. And in the end, you might also run an occasional weakness policy, but it's not super necessary. Being that it's slow and uses a lot of its offenses in Trick Room, it does require a good bit more support, kind of like Melmetal. Momentum, powerful wall breakers, hazards are all very important with Hatterene. It's one of only 6 GMax Pokemon that I've actually used in Draft League, and it was by far the most fun to build with. It's really used at its best as a late game cleaner in Trick Room, but is really underrated for breaking through a team in the mid game to create an opening for your end game. For a deeper look on GMax Hatterene, check out my guide that I did with Olivia Sama, it's in the description. Top 5, here we go. Like Protein, Libero is a broken ability, but without it, Blaze GMax Cinderace is still one of the best GMaxes available. It is the second fastest GMax, but has coverage that is absolutely perfect for it. You can boost your attack and speed with Max Knuckle and Max Airstream. You have a 160 base power fire move through GMax Fireball, and after that, it's just gravy. Psychic, Poison, Steel, Bug, and Dark are all your main physical options, which is incredible coverage. I can't put it any higher because of Blaze, but with Libero, this would be number 1 easily. Missing out on items does hurt Cinderace a good bit too. If you guys could use items, I'd argue it's no lower than number 3. Reason for that is Stealth Rocks. Losing heavy duty boots is a huge downside for Cinderace, and the lack of power it has compared to a lot of other GMax Pokemon is unfortunate because you can't run a Life Orb to make up for it. It is, however, a very straightforward GMax. Get it in, click your max moves, and break a hole in your opponent's team. It's that easy. I will say though, it is a magnet for Thunder Wave. After speaking to players who have used it, that seems to be the biggest threat to stop Cinderace from sweeping. And if you guys want to learn more about GMax Cinderace, Mid-Pokemaster and I have a video on how to use it down in the description. The final member of the Galar starter trio, GMax Rillaboom, is up next. Undoubtedly, it is the best of the 3 without GMax, considering most leagues ban Libero Cinderace, but the biggest reason I have it above the other 3 is that its max move is arguably the best. In a vacuum, Hydro Snipe is better because more Pokemon get access to water immunity abilities. But are we sure Inteleon wouldn't prefer setting up the Rain and Cinderace the Sun? Rillaboom starts off with the terrain boosted attack because of its ability, meaning it doesn't miss out on max overgrowth as much as the other Pokemon miss out on max flare and max geyser. On top of that, its stats are super well rounded, bulky on both sides, fast enough to cause problems and to outspeed anything notable with a +1 boost from max Airstream. It gets max Knuckle for an attack boost too. Other than that, ground and dark moves are really all it needs, which it has plenty of. On top of that, it supports teams incredibly well with its terrain. Everyone loved Bulutran back in Gen 7, but Heatran Boom is much better. Or is it Rillatran? Whatever, the point I'm trying to make is that it's really, really good. And on top of that, compared to Cinderace and Inteleon, it really doesn't miss out on items at all. Usually you run a Band, a Life Orb, a Salt Vest, or a Grassy Seed or something, but in a league where all GMax Pokemon have to hold a Pokeball, it really isn't that big of an issue. In my eyes, the top 3 are undisputed, and they're on another level from the first 7. The reason why Rillaboom can't crack into the top 3 is that its offensive typing isn't that great. Almost every team has at least 2, maybe even 3 solid grass resists, so at that point, you're relying on coverage to hit them, which honestly isn't the worst, but it's also not great because you lose out on the 50% power increase from stab. All in all, it's one of the best, absolutely no doubt about it, but it just can't hold a candle compared to these top 3. If you guys want to learn more about GMax Rillaboom, my pal John Jr. and I have a guide on it down in the description. GMax Gengar may not get a fly move to boost its speed, but it doesn't need one. It's not all that bulky, but it doesn't need to be. Its max move isn't all that great, but it doesn't have to be either. Gengar embodies what a top tier GMax Pokemon is. It takes a frail Pokemon and makes it very bulky. The only GMax Pokemon that are faster than it are Inteleon and Cinderace, so in all likelihood, it's going to be a lot harder for opposing GMaxes to check Gengar, especially after a +1 special attack boost from Max Ooze. Almost nothing resists the combination of Ghost and Poison moves, and whatever does isn't appreciating Gengar's coverage options. Gengar forces so many switches because of its incredible speed and power, meaning you can pretty freely get off a nasty plot as they go into their check. At that point, are they really a check anymore to +2 Gengar? Probably not. Based on its typing alone, it also fits really well on a lot of different teams. It's a fighting and normal immunity, it's a grounded poison for toxic spikes, and it is one of the best fairy killers in all of Draft League. It really only has 3 weaknesses. It's a little bit frail, it doesn't get max airstream, and its G-Max move is weaker than most others. But all that said, it really doesn't miss out on items as much as other G-Max Pokemon do. Sure, it's nice to run Resist Berries, Life Orbs, Choice Scarfs even, but it's not as necessary on Gengar as with other Pokemon. In reality, Gengar is just so good because it can usually get away with running stabs +1 coverage move at the very worst. That means it can support itself with other options like Will-O-Wisp, Nasty Plot, Hypnosis, and Trick. Trick is especially great on G-Max Gengar because you can actually steal an opponent's item and give them a Pokeball. And come to think of it, Grimmsnarl can do the same thing. The final reason why I have Gengar so high is that even without G-Max, it's still an incredible Pokemon that can really take advantage of its G-Max turns even after it's finished Gigantamaxing. I'd highly recommend G-Max Gengar to anyone. It's a ton of fun, a broken mon, and you will not be disappointed. I understand that it cannot run boots, but that doesn't take away from how incredible G-Max Charizard really is. Just think about it. Stab max airstream, recovery, insane coverage, and solar power. Wait, what? Solar power, yes, solar power. Whether you're manually setting up Sun for yourself with Sunny Day, or you have a Torkoal or Ninetales, solar power makes up for Charizard's 109 special attack by essentially giving it a choice specs plus the Sun boost for all of its fire moves. G-Max Wildfire is an incredible max move, by the way. It's not as good as Max Flare for Charizard, but it's still insane. Forcing non-fire Pokemon to take a 1/6 of their max HP for 4 turns, even after Charizard is off the field, is incredible. It's crazy. And by the way, it can turn most Tuakos into Okos as well, which is ridiculous. Obviously, Charizard's biggest weakness though is its 4 times weakness to rocks, and that is a big factor, but Charizard can still snowball unlike any other. Physical Charizard with Max Knuckle is also a thing, by the way, so if you thought your special wall was the way of taking these hits, nice try. You can make an argument for why this Pokemon will be the #1 G-Max, and in reality, it's the only other G-Max that can have an argument for #1 in my eyes. But that's because of all the support that Charizard can take advantage of compared to a lot of other Pokemon. Solar power with Sun is a huge difference. Fire, flying, and grass or ground coverage basically hits absolutely everything. So if you're facing a Charizard, you're gonna need some resist berries and rock type attacks, or you're in for a tough time. Quickly, some honorable mentions. GMax Lapras is an incredible support Pokemon that can set up Veil for your team, but it really suffers from not being able to hold items like boots, light clay, or assault vests. GMax Alchemy is a poor man's GMax Hatterene. It's just not fast enough without Trick Room and not slow enough with it. Plus, it can't set up Trick Room for itself. GMax Blastoise and GMax Venusaur aren't on the list because the majority of the time they have to have certain bans. Usually like 99% of the time, GMax Blastoise is not allowed to run Shell Smash, and GMax Venusaur can't run Chlorophyll. With those additions and with Libero Cinderace, those would make up the top 5 along with Charizard at my #1. In my opinion, you just can't allow Shell Smash GMax Blastoise or Chlorophyll Venusaur because they just take it a step too far in GMax leagues. #1 baby, and no, it is not cheating. I actually believe that both GMax Urshifus are incredible and deserving to share the #1 spot. Now let's be honest, their max moves kind of suck, but literally everything else about these Pokemon is basically perfect. And no, I'm not just saying that because I am the Urshifu king. I do love this Pokemon, but let's be objective about this. 130 attack with moves that always crits. Max Knuckle to boost their attack. Incredible coverage. Single Strike doesn't really need it, but it's super nice for Rapid Strike. And then the reason why I have them at #1. 97 base speed with max airstream to boost it. In the video I did on GMax Rapid Strike with Pokeaim, link in the description, we had mentioned that its 97 base speed is what keeps it in check. Any faster than that would be too good for the meta, but max airstream says fuck that. Now I'm faster than basically everything. What is your check? You probably don't have one. They really do not need an item. Honestly, if they were allowed to hold an item, I'd recommend banning these two from your league. It would basically be giving a team one of the 10 or 15 best Pokemon from a completely separate tier than what they would normally be in. So when I say no items is the way to go if you allow Urshifu, please take my word for it. They really don't have many checks, and with access to U-turn and their incredible stats, you don't need to even GMax to be threatening. Just force switches until you can weaken something into range of max airstream and you'll basically sweep. They are also the two best GMaxes at keeping the ball rolling after their GMax is over. If you have the first overall pick and these are legal, take one. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. You're probably wondering which of the two I think is better, but they really are just so close. But if I had to absolutely say, I would give a slight advantage to Rapid Strike as number 1A while Single Strike as 1B, specifically because a Sash Fairy type attack can Oko Single Strike Urshifu, while Rapid Strike Urshifu doesn't have to deal with that kind of 4x weakness. I absolutely love these Pokemon. If you guys get a chance to draft them, I would highly recommend it. They are a ton of fun and they will break opponents' teams so well. Well, that's my list, guys. If you disagree anywhere, let me know down in the comments or make your own video and add me on Twitter so I can take a look and of course retweet it as well. I answer every single one of my comments, by the way, and I'm looking forward to the discussions that we're going to have about it. I do have some bad news for you guys. Our series on how to use every single GMax Pokemon has come to an end for the time being, but if we can get this video to 100 likes, then I will bring it back for you guys. It's just at this point in time, the episodes are taking too long to make, but if you guys really love the series, then let me know by liking the video and commenting that you want me to keep it going. Last thing is, we are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Our goal is to get to 5,000 by the end of the year, so if you guys haven't already, make sure to subscribe, especially if you like competitive Pokemon content and list videos. I can guarantee that we're going to keep getting better at this game together, so hit subscribe and join the ocean. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time.